More testing. We're all set. So, um, if we were in a movie theater, you would see a camera angle that would kind of be above the world, and then it zooms into a continent. And the continent, if you're a real fan of genre, would look like somewhere possibly around the Sword Coast, and it zooms in a bit closer and in the Sword Coast area. And you zoom into a very small town. I wouldn't even say it's a town, um, but you see this map um, appear, and the map appears on the screen, and share it with you. That, that
Yep.
okay, and I will draw an arrow on here, white arrow. How about I just draw a box?
Oh, yep. I see it.
Okay, so down there, you'll see a small little place called Parnast. It's just on the southern part of a forest range area called the Weathercoat Forest. And the map kind of fades away, and you see it zoom in further and further and further into a small little compound that is um, on the outside of the wall, um, outside of a walled area in what you're assuming to be Parnast. Um, and you get closer and closer and closer and kind of zoom through a window. You can hear a rooster crowing in the distance, and um, you see a. Oh, what do they see? How would you describe your character?
So currently, I'm assuming I'm in bed or
Yep. Yep.
close to the bed. You see a young human female, about average height, if not a little bit shorter, with long brown flowing hair. Um, Kind of in uh, loose uh, shirt and pants for the night. Um, yeah, they have kind of like a deep. Well, you can't see the eyes yet, but they have a deep blue eyes. Um, and other than that, there's nothing particularly interesting just from looking at her.
So the room that you're in is kind of a sparsely decorated room. I would say that you probably were having a little bit of a hard time trying to get to sleep last night, considering what your intent was to go and collect herbs and whatnot. But
Yeah.
also produce and breads and things like that to kind of restock the pantries, um, families, um, dwelling. Um,
Yes.
you were all excited because you actually the night before were told by a an individual who is in direct contact with his name is Zagash, and he would be what you would consider your Grand Inquisitor of your family.
Yes.
And we use the word family loosely because it is, in some people's eyes, what would be considered possibly cult. Um, you came there when you were a lot younger, um, but you realize that you need to get away from this. It was fine when you were younger, but now that you're older, you realize that things you have choices, and you realize that you're never going to be able to have your own choices still with this quote family. Um, you wake up, you're getting dressed and getting ready to go, but your mind keeps kind of racing back to the change in your sleep patterns. Um, things have something just doesn't something's definitely changed, or in your mind, never ever happened to you before. Why today? Why today out of all days? This has this changed? Like your entire life growing up, you've never experiencing anything different than the darkness, the void, and now a light, other lights, smaller lights, and this feeling of emptiness is filled with something strange, exciting, but scary at the same time because you've never known anything different. Um, you're pulling your shirt on and getting your backpack together with a small bag of coins that you were given the night before, and you hear a knock at the door.
Uh, who is it? Who's there?
It's Krust.
What are you doing here?
Well, I was
Hold on. Let me finish getting ready. I'll be out in just a second. So she puts on kind of like woolen clothing with dull tones and this light blue uh, hooded shawl as well, and grabs
uh
a couple of her belongings.
you know Krust is for all intensive purposes underling the Inquisitor, Zagash. He probably sent Krust along to spy on you, serve you. Um, in your past, you haven't really fit in with the family's ideals. Things haven't always. You've accomplished the tasks that they've wanted you to do it, but you've always done it in a different way. And even though you were able to do what they've asked you to do, like, and the end goal was exactly what they wanted, they didn't like your method of getting there and would always discipline you and discourage you, sometimes to the point of abuse, whether lack of nutrition or sometimes tasks and chores that you always felt were unfair. Um, you've only known Parnast, and the one thing about Parnast is nestled at the foothills of the Grey Peak Mountains. Um, it's not a big town, but your family has always liked it because of the fact of its remoteness, and also it fit their underlying needs. Um, the town basically has a central square, and there's other like several other dozen buildings, simple structures basically around it. Most harnesters earn their living as farmers, laborers, crafters, sometimes just transporting stuff, and occasionally you'll have loggers that come in from the forest. Um, while the area is basically ruled by the Zentarum, basically 1/10 of all the goods that pass through the town are usually taken by the local Lord of the Month and redistributed as they see fit. Your family doesn't live directly in town, but on the outside of the walls of the old Parnas. Um, you you were hoping you were going to get an opportunity to, know, make a way out for yourself. Today, you were gonna go and gather the resources and everything else, build up a bit of trust, and then you were going to basically find a way out, which would probably mean that you would basically be finding a ride on a caravan or making a deal with somebody to get passage out of the area. Maybe not today, but definitely a planner, a thinker, and you probably were hoping to just do some reconnaissance. But now hearing the knock at your door and understanding why why he's coming with you, you're probably now a little bit more anxious. Um,
Yeah, so Calliope is visually frustrated and says, "I can handle this mission on my own. I know where I'm going. I've done this before. I do not need your help." And she doesn't open the door.
Not my decision. No, it wasn't technically. Well, you know how it is. I, I'll just help you
I
carry
know it wasn't
things.
I know it wasn't your decision. I'm just upset.
Oh, it makes two of us. I had plans today.
Is there any exterior way, other like any other exit point? Like, do I have like a window or something?
There's a window, but it's kind of too. You
Yeah,
realize
yeah, I'm not a climber.
it's not a prison, but would be difficult. And it's kind of like a small little compound. Like the house that you're in is inside a small little um I wouldn't say fenced in like barbed wire and stuff like that, but more of a everybody can see anything going in the courtyard.
Okay. Calliope kind of opens the door quickly and is like, just don't get in my way as I try and push past a little bit of Krust.
It's still quite early in the morning. Like sun really hasn't come up yet, but you can start to see the red in the sky. And if you were a sailor, you would think it's gonna be a wonderful day. You head out the door, Krust standing behind you and probably about 2 steps behind you, trying to make small talk about weather and what are you planning on going to get today, all the rest of it. You look over your shoulder every once in a while, sort of thing. You kind of see Krustas walking along, and his eyes are kind of darting around the area, um, trying to see if there's anybody strange or different. As you're walking from old um, Parnast into the central square area where a lot of the caravans and stuff would have probably parked for the night and getting ready to open up their wares and whatnot. The time of the season is um, really exciting to you because the few times that you have been able to go down there, you get to see a lot of stuff that comes from the and there's a lot of interesting things that you don't normally see that come down the Black Road. Um, but it's also a time when places from like Daggerford and Waterdeep, some of the other smaller towns, send their caravans to Parnast, and there'll be buyers there to gather unique items or rare herbs or whatever the case may be, and they will buy them from the people that came from the east. And so it's kind of like a trading ground sort of thing. And then those people will bring the stuff back to Waterdeep and sell it for exorbitant money, I'm guessing. So it's a good time to be able to find pretty much anything you're looking for. So that also gives you a lot of opportunities to find a lot of different people that might give you a way out. You you've been to town, but never really during this time of the season. And as you're walking up there, you can hear a lot of carts and talking, and smoke is like billowing up from inside the city, or inside the town center area. Not like we have a fire on our hands, sort of thing. Just a lot of people cooking and preparing stuff, and a lot of wagons, you hear a lot of animals and stuff like that because you got carts and horses and livestock coming from both directions at the same time. So it's quite the
So
hubbub in Parnas at this time of the year.
as Calliope's going through, she's trying to keep a low profile, not trying to like hide away or anything from Krust, but just trying to seem like a citizen of the town, not like eyeing everything and looking like a tourist. I guess I
Um,
need to find these herbs.
you you spend a bit of time. You find a lot of interesting people and stuff you've never ever seen before, and you're like, I'm trying to make a good effort here. Like you're really trying to barter and get the most bang for your buck. And you're doing. Give me a d20 roll. Let's just see how well you're doing.
Just a straight roll.
Great roll.
Yeah.
So you got a 7. I would say you're pretty much just average par. You're not making any major deals or major losses or anything like that. And you've been gathering parcels and stuff like that. And in the back of your mind, you're thinking, well, if he's come along, I ain't carrying shit. He can. So you've been
Yeah.
basically handing back parcels and packages and bags and whatnot to Krust. And
He's a well-built fellow.
oh yeah, he's not the brightest torch in the bunch, but he's he's a torch. So
I think what I'd be doing is trying to get like big bulky things as well to kind of make it difficult for him to like, I don't know, like when it starts building up, it's kind of getting over his eyesight, his eye line. Not that he can't see, just it's making it difficult for him to be fully present at all times.
um, as you've been gathering and collecting and stuff like that, you give me a perception check.
All right. Perception. Ooh,
You
another
get
7, a 9. Yeah.
you kind of get the feeling like somebody is watching you, and you're not like you're not like you just kind of get the feeling like there's eyes on you other than Krust behind you.
I feel like, so taking into account the dream I had, I feel like Calliope is very focused on like taking that as a sign and like this is a chance to do something. So I don't think the eyes. I think the eyes kind of bother her. Like whatever she feels being watched is kind of upsetting, but she's fully focused on trying to find some sort of information that will help her.
Okay, so give me an investigation check and do what you're 13. You've heard a couple conversations from some of the caravans that they're going to be heading back to Waterdeep in the next day or two, because they basically did really well in their first day there, and they don't think they can carry much more. They know that getting through the Dawn Pass is not going to be an issue because of the protection that their companies have worked out with um, the Tarim. But they're more worried about the little guys sort of thing as they head down the way towards like Loudwater and Zobras as they get further away from that protection.
Do I
Um,
know if there's any um, kind of groups of other Deep Horizons followers in that direction?
you would not have been privy to that kind of information.
Okay.
You've always been told that they're everywhere. they see everything, they know everything. You kind of don't believe everything that you're being told, but at the same time, you have no proof to the
Either
uh,
way, yeah,
yeah.
yeah.
So, um, give me another
Okay.
perception check after about an hour or so.
Uh,
Oh yeah,
22.
not 20 works. Okay. You see a humanoid man, beard. He's has a white ponytail, carries some sort of two-handed weapon over his back, but it's tucked through a hole or in behind a cape that he wears. He has a kind of mixed mash of armor, and he's talking to a vendor there, and he's jiggling kind of a coin purse and talking. But you realize he's looking over the shoulder of the person he's talking to, and his eyes are quite. You wouldn't have thought it any other way, but his eyes are almost white. And if you had to take a guess, if it was nighttime, you'd wonder if they'd almost glow. Um,
Hmm.
they kind of match his hair in a way. He's got scars on his face from this distance. You can't really hear him speak because of all the noise and the hustle and bustle and stuff like that. But he looks like this.
Are there any vendors nearby that I could maybe move closer to without being too suspicious?
You're basically walking through. I don't know if you're familiar with farmers markets, but I mean
Mhm.
they got a small little area that they have, and they are basically jammed on top of each other. And it's not unusual to hear like one vendor say, "You're in my area," and push a cart over the way or push material out of the way because it's in their selling area. And normal skirmishes and whatnot. Uh, there's a lot of unmarked
Okay.
soldiers, but you know that there's a lot of soldiers around there kind of keeping the peace and watching for gangsterism sort of thing.
First,
Um,
I feel like I see something over there that I must bring back.
All right. Well, how much longer are we gonna be?
Not too much.
um, as you kind of look back at Cruz to make that statement, you turn back around and you realize that that older gentleman is not where he was 2 seconds ago. You do a quick glance around the area and you realize he's actually walking right towards you.
Uh,
He's probably
I,
about 5 feet away from you, kind of making his way
I
past different people and stuff.
does he look? He looks like he's looking at me and coming
He,
to me.
his eyes are like riveted in your forehead, if it could
Uh,
possibly be, sort of thing. But then his eyes quickly glance past you towards, like over your shoulder, towards Krust, and he passes by you and like, excuse me,
I
and
kind of stand my ground, like kind of in an aggressive. I don't know. Like I'm unsure, but as he passes by me, I kind of like bring my shoulder to the side to let him through.
yeah, and he moves his shoulder out of the way, and his eyes are focused on your eyes, and he kind of gives you a little bit of a maybe a wink, and then he crashes right into um right into your cart basically
Oh, okay.
as as Cruz goes crashing, and all the parcels that he was carrying basically start falling to the ground. And you hear him, "Oh, I'm so sorry. Let me help you with that." Give me a perception check with disadvantage.
Ah,
3 wouldn't
5.
do it. Anyways,
Yeah.
you're watching him bend down. He's, I don't know, he's probably more handsome than most men, sort of thing. Not that you're looking at him in that way, sort of thing, but he is distracting to a lot of the other female people in the marketplace. Um,
Mhm.
but as you are standing there, you feel something in your hand all of a sudden. It can't.
I,
He
I look
he's
down at
probably
it.
he's probably like 2 or 3 feet away from you, sort of thing, helping Cruz pick things up and whatnot. You look down at your hand and you see a small note that's palm size sitting right in the palm of your hand.
I move a little bit away and like behind a cart, so that even if Krust was looking, he couldn't necessarily see what I was like doing. So, and I'll
Okay.
read it.
It just has 3 pieces of information onto it. Darkness. But the word that you would recognize in another language that you understand. Which language is it?
I just know common and infernal. Although I think I should have one additional one for my background, but I
Okay,
did
so
not
whatever
put
the
that in.
additional one is that you picked, it's written in
Yeah.
that language. And it says darkness, which also might in that language mean void. The other piece says 5 minutes, and the other one says bell tower.
Look around. Do I see a bell tower anywhere, or would that like spring to me for what was like what would it mean?
Yeah, there is in the new Parnest, there's been a new bell tower that's being constructed. I think as a kind of early warning system for letting people know that there's an event or town hall meeting or whatever, but also as a warning if they were being attacked by desert people from through the Weathercoat forests.
Okay. I look back towards Proust and the bearded man. Um, does it look like they're still focusing on picking stuff up?
Um, yeah, you see Cruz has got everything under control, and you just see the ponytail of the man probably about 10 feet past him, walking away.
Can I try and slink out and kind of walk quickly away without Krust seeing me, or is he already looking at me again?
Give me a stealth check.
Yeah. Keep rolling sevens.
All right, Cruz looks over at you, and he's like, he's looking around, sort of thing, and he catches your gaze as you were sitting there looking around for a place to go. And
Mm-hmm.
you look back over him to see if he's caught eyesight of you, and he's staring directly at you. He's kind of really angry, like he wanted to hit the guy, sort of thing, but he's realized, okay, well, that's fine.
Are you almost ready?
Yeah, I suppose. I think there's just one or two more things. It'll be really fast, I promise.
All
Um,
right.
as
You can see him; he's struggling to try and carry all this stuff, and he's like,
I, I'm just going to
and you see him like he's kind of pointing towards one of the wagons that's selling mead from the desert
mhm.
area, and he's like,
I'll be right here waiting. You don't go too far.
this.
Oh, I would never. I would never.
All right,
Um,
hurry up. I'll be right here.
And
okay.
he kind of puts down all his stuff in a pile, sort of thing, and you kind of get the feeling he didn't have any money with him, so you're kind of thinking that maybe the ponytail guy had given him some money.
Mm.
So he's looking for a way to um, well, make this trip a little bit less bearable.
Spend it before he comes back.
You know how it is because father would take everything.
Yeah. Okay. And so she starts walking down, I guess the main line of stalls, and I turn a corner towards where I think the bell tower is.
As you're walking away, you hear a and you look back and you see Krust and he's got a beer stein up to his lips and his takes two fingers, he points at his eyes and then he points at you.
Yes, I know. I will be right over here. And I point like in the general direction of
And then you
the
continue and
way
go
to
and
the
get out of his sight.
yeah.
Yeah. Okay, so you get away, and you know the bell tower is about a 5 minute to 10 minute walk, sort of thing, depending on how many people you bump into along the way.
Once I'm out
Out
of
towards the
eyesight,
east.
I'm going to run.
Okay, so you start hoofing it.
Yeah.
You as you're coming around, like you go around one bend, and you're kind of watching in the horizon, trying to see your bearings and stuff like that. Not being in this town very often, but it's kind of hard to see. Like there's quite a big wooden structure, sort of thing. They haven't parged it yet properly, but you can see the framework of the bell tower. And as you're making your way towards it, you give me a perception check. Yeah, a 2. So basically you're sitting there thinking like, I wonder what this means. Uh and then all of a sudden you give me a dex check.
Save or check.
Just a check.
Oh,
All
I
right.
did not succeed.
So as you're running, all of a sudden you just feel the back of your shirt come up high in the air, and you feel the front of your shirt go quickly around your throat, and you get yanked off of your feet, and you lose your balance, and basically are dragged by your heels into what looks like an alleyway.
Get your hand. And I'm struggling, kind of like reaching my arms back, trying to let go of me.
I'm very sorry, my lady. And you turn around and kind of catch your balance and look back up, and you see the old man with a ponytail.
Oh, it's you. I don't think you needed to do that. But what does this
Um,
note mean?
well, I needed to make sure that had some time to talk.
About
First word on that note, thank you.
darkness, a void. I'm not entirely sure if that I'm translating it right. It's a little rusty.
Yeah, those would be the words to
I,
best describe it.
I don't know. I don't get what you're getting at here. I was hoping that I've been having some hopes of understanding some of my dreams, which I guess you could think is related to darkness. Okay? Is that what you mean?
Let me guess, is this dream something that I wouldn't even say would be a dream, Ellie?
A,
Um,
a
More of
lack,
a
a space, yes.
let me put it maybe in words that you might be able to comprehend. Um, You don't dream like normal people do. You just have the
Suppose
comfort
not.
of darkness. Had it all your life. Even your friend that you grew up with.
Are you talking about Guthrad?
Yep. They never understood. Tried to explain it to them. Looked at you. Were touched.
Who are you? What? I don't understand what this all has to do with me.
Well, I realize that you're probably trying to get away from this deep kind of shoulder um, problem that you're in.
How do you know all this? Who are you?
I am many. I am one. I'm not a god, not a charlatan. I am a fighter, but I am a messenger first and foremost.
For who?
Um, your maker.
My maker. You're starting to sound an awful lot like the people I grew up with.
Yes, but the difference between me and they is, well, it is between pretend and reality. You know that they are not everything that they say they are.
Right.
Well, I have a feeling that this excursion that you're on right now is one of reconnaissance, trying to plan your way out. You are a planner, aren't you?
Yes, did Zagash, did he set you up to this? Are you here to watch me?
Let me put it this way. Gash knew I was here. Both people. Or I.
Okay, alright. I'll I'll listen, but I am not very trusting of new people. So what do you propose?
Well, it's not really my proposal. It's the same that is presented to each of hers. You have the life that you've known, if you would like to call it that. You know what it holds. You know the emptiness. But now things have changed. I was sent. I know it's you. Well, I've been doing this a long time. I'm pretty sure it's you. And he says, you see him kind of cross his arms, and then you see his arms uncross, and he holds his hands with his fists facing down, but closed like he's hiding something in his hands. And he says, in this hand, I hold your future. And in the other hand, I also hold your future. One is visibly different than the other. I can't give you promises of freedom, of how do I put this? Safety. But I can give you freedom your choices. And he slowly opens one hand up, and it's completely empty. And in the other hand, he opens it up, and you see this, the bracelet. And as you stare at the bracelet, you see the outside markings on it are glowing, not as in like firelight or anything, but almost like if there was a way to trap a rainbow inside a tube of glass. And the tube of glass has been shaped in a pattern that looks like it's the same in some places and repeating, and then changes as it goes for as far as you can see around this bracelet. And his eyes look
I
at you, and he says, "Thought so."
I stare. I look into his eyes. Can I make an insight check on him?
Totally.
All right.
Good.
I was trying to get any idea of like, is he trying to scam me? Is this some sort of uh, like peddling of something?
Well, using your
That's
intelligence, you realize and your wisdom that he hasn't asked for anything. He's so far just talked about futures. And when your eyes went up and looked at his eyes, you kind of, if he could smile with his eyes, he did. Because he realizes that you can see something.
I reach out and I go for the bracelet.
Okay. You pick up the bracelet, and you can see how it would kind of bend outwards so that you'd be able to put it onto your wrist. And as you look at it, it is something that you would imagine that only kings and queens would be able to afford. Like the value on it, the metal that it's made out of, it almost looks like stone, but it's metal. You can't even fathom as to what the rainbow is trapped in, sort of thing. Um, you are attuned with magic and the like, sort of thing, and without like your hands are physically touching this for this to be like an illusion. It would be
Mm-hmm.
very, very powerful magic, and to be able to make light do what it's doing, you don't even think that your teachers could do what this thing is doing. Because it's moving. It's almost like it's like a liquid inside of the pattern.
I look at the man and I haven't put it on, I say, what exactly is this going to do for me?
Give me a perception check. 14. As he kind of stands back and kind of crosses his arms again in front of him, not in a like a defensive, closed-minded way sort of thing, but as
Mhm.
in kind of at his waist. Um, he, you see on his chest a an a necklace sort of thing, and it looks like this. You've seen the metal before. It's very well crafted. It's been around the block once or twice. But the thing that really catches you is the fact that inside of this necklace is like a marble almost. But it's not just a regular marble, it's like the larger ones, like the slammers. And
Okay.
inside of it is the best thing you could possibly think of is looking out your bedroom window and seeing fireflies. But being able to catch one that landed on the window ledge, the firefly is way too big. Inside of there are something that almost like if grains of sand could change colors and fly, they are. And inside of that, there's about 4 or 5, maybe more. Hard to tell. The colors stay the same, but they move around slowly, almost like a fish inside of a bowl. And your eyes go up and kind of catch his as he's staring, catches your eyes catching his necklace.
That is beautiful.
Yes, it is a gift and a curse.
What
But
does it
hey, that no,
symbolize?
never mind.
Oh, okay.
It is my cross to bear. It's my privilege to bear it.
I
I give you the opportunity as I've given others in the past, but never have I ever seen. Oh, it never. Hey, me, no, never mind. He says,
well, I still. So this bracelet. What will it do for me? What will it help me accomplish?
when you woke up this morning, things had changed. It's because of that the change has happened. You want to see where that change may lead you? Then simply put it on. It will not do any damage to you, will not do you any physical harm in and of itself. But just as in this life, as in the next, it will not keep you safe either, in and of itself. But together, you'll find safety. I know,
Calliope takes
it's
a big
riddles.
breath. Yeah. You have not made my decision easy, but I woke up this morning knowing that there was something that I needed to find. I don't know who you are. I don't know what you are, but I think you have provided me with what I was after.
And you kind of see his
And I put
eyes
the
are not really focused on you. His eyes are kind of looking at the ground like he's distracted and thinking about something after his last statement. And you go ahead and you're about to say you're going to put the.
yes, I put the bracelet on.
As you put the bracelet on, the market kind of fades away. It's still there, but you. It kind of clears your mind. Yes, you can still hear the things happening around you. You can still hear the people. You can still hear him. And also hear faintly distant, kind of a humming. And as you look around, you realize it's coming from behind you towards the west.
I face in that direction and see if I can see anything
You
that
see
way.
carts passing by. You see um you see people passing by, and you see people that look in your direction sort of thing, but don't really, they're kind of looking past you really quickly. It's like you're not even there. You feel a warmth on your wrist, and you look down, and the bracelet is no longer on your wrist. You feel almost like somebody is dragging a flame across your wrist, but it doesn't hurt. And you look at your wrist and you see the same or similar rainbow pattern start to weave, like 4 quills moving and intertwining with each other. And they start to form what looks to be like a Celtic knot in a way. And you watch as this thing kind of starts to draw and form and develop on your wrist. And you follow it as you move your wrist and twist to watch it being drawn or tattooed or magically forming on your wrist. And it comes right back around to the bottom side of your wrist, and it stops. Pain disappears, but you realize that the 2 bands, the beginning and the end, don't touch. And you're looking at it and you're wondering, because the way the pattern started and the way the pattern ended don't match.
Look back towards the old man. Is he still there?
He's still standing there. Head's kind of down. He's not really paying attention. But the one thing that kind of catches you off guard, because all of a sudden you see his head shoot directly up. His eyes shoot completely wide open. And in behind him, you see this hooded, just a hood, but there's no face inside the hood. The alleyway is lit up, but you don't see anything. And you can hear this coming from inside the hood. You look down at the old man's chest, and you see holes start to appear in his chest. And then you hear that hooded creature just screech and squeal like you've never ever heard anything before in your entire life. Give me a will check.
A wisdom
A will, like a wisdom save, or a constitution, I guess. I would say.
con save?
Yeah. Yeah, you feel vomit start to appear in your mouth, because you can see almost a hole about the size of a coin start to appear on the front of the old man's chest. You quickly see the old man take the 2 daggers that were kind of tucked on the undersides of his wrist, and you see him pull them out and basically stab behind him in the waist area, sort of thing, into the creature. You hear the creature squeal in pain, and then all of a sudden you see the head kind of vibrate back and forth and twist and squeal, and then you hear like a very, very high-pitched scream. And then the figure is almost dancing with him. You see the old man turn, and now his back is to you, and the hooded figure is standing there with his back to you. And the one thing you do notice is that there are no hands coming out the side of this cloak. And you kind of step back because you just puked out some lunch or breakfast,
Hmm.
and you look, and there are no feet underneath this cloak.
And they're engaged right now with each other.
Yeah. The old
I
man
think I
drops to his knees on the other side. You can kind of catch a glimpse of it through the holes that are in this cloak.
start backing away.
You start
Uh,
backing away, and as you start to
yeah.
back away, the hooded creature turns and spins and is looking right at you.
I turn and try and run.
As soon as it starts to stare at you, I need a Constitution saving throw. Yeah. You start to feel your feet not moving at all. Like you're basically frozen to the ground. And you start to see the cloak move towards you slowly. And as you do, you can start to feel your legs start to stiffen. And then you can't seem to move your arms. And your eyes are the only thing that seems to be able to move. And just as the hood is almost, if there was such a thing, a nose to nose with your face, you hear a loud screech once again. And you see two daggers pointing out of where maybe someone's neck would be inside of this hood. And the hood gets right up next to your face. And if you listen really, really carefully, I think you heard something. And then the hood falls to the ground.
Do I see the old man behind?
The old man is on the ground. His hands are outstretched towards you. The look on his face, eyes are closed, and he is like almost like sighing with his eyes. Like you look down and there's a cloak, and you see two daggers sitting on the cloak, kind of folded up in creases of it.
Reach down to grab one of them.
Can't move right now.
Oh,
Your eyes are kind of looking down past your nose. The only reason you can see anything.
I try and speak.
Lips can't move. You see the old
And
man. He kind of is holding his hand over top of chest and gets up slowly with his other hand holding against the alley wall, and see him kind of stumble forward towards you, and he grabs another amulet that's around his neck, and he just reaches out and with his other hand, and as he pulls at that necklace that's around his neck, you see the string fall loose around his hand, and as his left hand touches you, you just see him open his hand up, and the dust starts to fall away. Whatever he had in his hand on the amulet, he crushed it and it just turned to dust. And you could start to feel worst case of pins and needles you've ever felt before in your entire life all over your body at the same
My eyes, if I can do like wide pleading, just my eye movements are like left to right.
You can feel yourself be able to
Trying
blink
to.
all of a sudden. You can start to feel like you could back. Start to feel fingers again. Start to feel arms again. Try to move. It seems like you can very jerky move. As you're starting to get feeling back to your body again, he's reaching down and kind of picks up two of his daggers ground, just the other hand not leaving.
What was that?
What? Are into the swish.
I'm sorry. What?
Into swish.
I'm not familiar.
That you're going to be.
Why did you place this curse upon me?
Definitely will. Problem. Benefit. Our greater. Family.
Where do I go?
You hear the voltage.
I did. Am I hearing it again?
Slightly quiet.
Yes, it's,
Not
and I
prominent.
point in the direction. Yes, I hear it.
And you look you look in the behind him and you see a figure walking down the alleyway.
Is it something I recognize? Someone I recognize?
Armor, you can very much tell it's a female. It walks up and slowly stands behind the figure, and you see it take its its right hand, and hold it in the shape of a circle over top of its heart. And then you see the hand turn and face its chest. And as the circle changes to 3 fingers, the pinky and the thumb go towards the palm. And you see it raise that up past its nose, past its forehead. And as you follow the hand up, their eyes follow their hand up as well. And as that happens, you feel the other hand of them slowly going up past you and meets the other hand above, over top of their head. And whatever they do next, you have no idea how they're doing it. But you see them put both of their hands together, almost like some clerics would pray. And you see them then separate them, stretch their palms out wide towards the sky, and slowly bring them away from their body in a circle pattern until their hands join up in front of their bodies again, down by their waist. And as they're doing this, it's not their hands that really catch your attention. It's a gold circle that almost looks like when you were a kid playing with a hot stick that came out of the fire and you could draw in the darkness with it. And as they're doing this, you see this golden circle start to appear in front of them. And as they finish, they bring both of their hands up in front of their body. Their right hand makes the symbol of the O, and their other hand makes the symbol of the 3 fingers facing upward. And then you see her reach up and put her arms around the old man. And then you see her step backwards into the circle. And as she does that, the circle quickly dissipates, just like the light from the stick did at the time. And they both disappear. And you're left standing in the alleyway. The cloak at your feet. The hustle
look
and
around.
bustle still going on in the streets behind you, but nobody seemed to even notice or pay attention to anything happen in the alley.
Do I see Krust anywhere?
No, because he's still standing, hopefully still standing. How long has it been? Hard to tell.
Right. So I don't see him around.
Nope.
I start slowly walking, and then I start picking up the pace, and then I start jogging, and then running into the direction of the sounds I hear, the singing, the humming.
As you do, you see Cruz step out from the next street right in front of you.
Is there an alley I can turn into before I reach him?
You were running, like, literally, as you came to the corner, he came around the corner, and he stopped, and he looked right at you.
I try, and
he starts walking towards you. Not looking at you, but he's looking towards you.
Step to the side. Does it look like he's still looking at me?
He looks at you and he says, "Excuse me, ma'am."
Just stare at him.
And he's talking to another lady that's right by you. And he starts giving out a description of you.
While still looking at him, I shuffle and kind of like making a semicircle around him,
Mm-hmm.
and he doesn't seem to notice me.
He notices, like, give me a investigation check. All right. You know that he knows that there's somebody there, but he's not acknowledging that it's you. Even though he's looking obviously for you because he keeps talking to this lady asking if she's seen you. Not like you're invisible.
Yeah. While still kind of looking over my shoulder, start to walk away.
Okay. As you start walking away, you're walking towards. You
West,
realize
you
that
said?
going as you're trying to go towards the west sort of thing, you realize that that's going to take you past Old Parnast. Past where your house living
Yeah.
arrangements are.
Do I know of any side roads that will keep me out of eyesight of my
Oh,
familiar building?
there's lots of ways to avoid that end of town sort of thing. Whether you want to try and do that right now because it's already probably about 3 o'clock or 4 o'clock.
Yeah, I put up my hood from my blue shawl, and I try to keep my head down as I'm taking a few back streets and side paths to try and keep out of eyesight.
Okay. Um, you start making your way towards the west, and as you start making your way towards the west, you stop for a second, and you now hear the humming coming from the east, and it's louder from the east. And it's not as loud, but it's definitely still there, the northwestish.
So I'm hearing
Like,
it from both ways.
yeah, if you're facing north or you're facing
Yeah.
south, it's almost in stereo. But definitively, the song or the humming is coming from the east more loudly than it is from the west. But
I
you're sure that the first time you heard this, you heard it from the west.
I take a moment and I look back down at my wrists. Do I still see the rainbow colors?
Yep, you do.
Take a second and kind of like a back way to I just sit. I sit against a wall out of the way of people and I take a second to just reflect and try and understand what's happening.
Okay. Sit and you think about the change of the dream that happened to you this morning. How you have never felt something fill that emptiness before. You hear the humming in your mind, and you realize it's maybe not humming, but it's somebody singing words to something, but it's so far away that you're just hearing hints or mumblings or murmurings sort of thing, along with a tune at the same time. You don't know why you can hear it in two places now rather than just one. You know that putting the bracelet on made what happened in your dreams, if you want to call them that, in your unconscious, bring things into reality different than it's ever felt before. You start thinking about Krust. And as you think about Krust, you can hear his voice. And you hear him saying,
Oh, if I don't find her pretty soon, I'm in big shit. Should never have taken the money from the old man. I wish I could have gotten away. Better take the stuff and at least get back to them, and I gotta tell Zagash. I don't want to tell Zagash. He's gonna discipline you something fierce. Where is she? I swore she was right there. I was watching her the whole time.
I try and focus on... Oh, sorry, go ahead.
Then your mind kind of flitters and flutters out away from that thought, like it was hard to kind of concentrate on it. And then you start to hear another voice. And you hear, that a dragonborn? Huh. And you hear another voice say,
Ugh. That looks like gnome. Maybe a gnome.
Tea? And then you hear another voice.
Yeah. But what happens if I take the bracelet?
And you feel so confused because you're hearing so many things. You look at somebody standing next to you, and you can hear them sitting there going, "Oh, my master's gonna be really happy. I got a really good deal on that." And you look over at somebody else, and you look at their face, and it's like, I didn't find anything. If I don't find something, what I have, I didn't realize things are gonna be this expensive. You just put your hands over top of your ears, and you just driving you nuts because you can hear so many voices in your head. Kind of get the feeling like you're reading people's minds or surface thoughts. But it's just driving you nuts.
I stand up and try and find a quieter place. What is happening to me? I kind of mumble that out loud.
You can hear back to the gentleman, the old man's voice. He reminded you that life would be different. Might not always be safe. But with family, and kind of family echoes through your mind. And the more that you give me a wisdom check. Yeah. You realize that you're starting to get a headache. But the voices kind of start to seem to fade away. The noise of the people around you, streets and everything else, you can still see them, you can still hear them. but they become quieter. You can just hear the humming, and it kind of brings you a little bit of freedom from the headache. So as you sit there and you start moving away and start heading away from town, you realize if you just listen to the humming, maybe focus on it, headache's just not so bad.
Deeply focus on. I try and get anything from what they're saying, what the song is making me feel, and what I'm drawing from it.
I think what you're drawing from the song the most is just same comfort that you feel when you were in the darkness.
I try and let the song envelop me in a way. My mind, I try and block everything but the song.
Okay. And as you do that, you start to feel yourself walking. And as you start walking, kind of catch yourself after a while and you realize that you're walking towards the walked out of town, walked through farmers' fields, small little ones, some of the outlying houses are around town. You don't know what's happened. It's scary, but almost exciting in some ways.
Is the song, is it louder for me?
Not like somebody turned the volume from like 5 up to a 10 or anything, but you know that as you walk in that direction, that you're tuned into the right channel. So
I take control of myself, or I focus back in, and I confidently start walking, knowing that this is the direction that I need to go, that I'm going away from who I was and towards what I will become.
with that, we'll end our session.